Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to UC Irvine. I am Michael Dennin. I'm the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning, Dean in Division of Undergraduate Education here at UCI, and a professor in physics and astronomy. It's very exciting to welcome you all here to our second annual Waypoints Conference, and it's my pleasure to kick us off by introducing our EVC and Provost, Hal Stern.
Thanks, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited about the work that you're all doing. Michael didn't say in the introduction, I'm a professor of statistics as well. So if someone wants me to say a few words about statistics and anything, I'm game. Statistics and student success happens to fit in both of my jobs. So this is really an exciting day. As all of your institutions are working, so are we on how to best leverage data and technology to help our students succeed. And certainly within UCI, the other UC campuses, but also I know all of your universities, we are intentionally seeking a more representative student body, and that is bringing students to us with a very heterogeneous set of backgrounds. And to allow those students to succeed, to enable those students to succeed, we should leverage all of the resources that we have available. Increasingly, that's an enormous amount of data, from the materials they submit to be admitted, to our communications with them throughout the enrollment process, to the work that they do once they get here, both in class and outside of class, their interactions with our career centers. An enormous amount of data, but very challenging to use because it cuts across a variety of types of data and a variety of data sources. And this has been certainly a challenge for us, I imagine, for other campuses as well. On our campus, we've set up an initiative called Compass, and Compass combines the Office of Teaching and Learning, Vice Provost Dennin's office, but it also brings in our graduate division, our student affairs unit, enrollment management, career pathways, and we have a Center for Educational Partnerships, so doing some of the pipeline work, and we're trying to increasingly pool all of this data together. So we think we've done some really nice work, and I want to call out Michael and Tom Andriola, who I'll pass the mic to in a second. But you know, we have lots to learn from each other because we're all really trying to solve the same sets of problems. So again, I really want to close by welcoming you, wishing you a great day, and I personally look forward to hearing what comes out of it. So with all that, let me bring up our Vice Chancellor for Data and Information Technology, Tom Andriola.
Thank you, Hal, and good morning, everyone. Hope you all had safe and uneventful travel and getting here. If you were here a little bit early, you got kind of a mixed weekend. I was selling this as, hey, if you're in a snow belt, why not come to California, get away from snow for a little bit? So we kind of partially delivered. Give us maybe a B- on that for the weekend. I have the great pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker for today, who I'm very excited that we were able to get here. Maria Anguiano is the Executive Vice President of the Learning Enterprise at Arizona State University. She's going to talk about the Learning Enterprise, but I'm just going to say that the Learning Enterprise serves learners of all ages and background with the goals of advancing excellence in education, broadening access, and having meaningful societal impact in a rapidly evolving, technology-fueled world. And I think that's why a lot of us are here to talk about how is that technology changing our world. As a first-generation college graduate herself, Maria has dedicated her career to improving access to education for all learners. In her early career in the finance industry, it gave her an edge in really envisioning how sustainable, technology-enabled, scalable models for higher education could benefit those most underserved students and communities. Maria is an experienced leader with a range of backgrounds, having been on VC-backed ventures all the way up to being on the board of our University of California Board of Regents. She has served as a CFO of the Minerva Project and Vice Chancellor of Planning and Budget at our own UC Riverside campus. She serves on many boards, in most cases connected to bringing educational access to, to many of those who most need it through not just the University of California, but the James Irvine Foundation, the KIPP Foundation, the Campaign for College Opportunity, and the Alliance of SoCal Innovation. And so with great pleasure, I'd like to thank Maria for joining us today and welcome her to the stage to hear her remarks. Maria? Did we get it plugged in for her to be able to click? Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I know it's Monday morning. It was rough for me as well, traveling to be here, so I get it. But good morning. I'm really excited to be here, especially at UC Irvine, one of my favorite campuses. Oh, don't tell all the other campuses. Today I'm going to speak a little bit about my work at ASU, some of the thing that fuels that work, and then also some implications for the UC system specifically. This is me, and Tom was able to give my background, so I'll skip this. Other than to say I'm not a professional speaker, so I'm just here to speak about my experience. So. But I wanted to talk about, you see me and the boards and stuff, but really my journey started, actually in LA and in Mexico as a first generation student. And one of the reasons I share these pictures of my journey is because when I talk about the learning enterprise and engaging learners at every stage in life, I know that learning is a journey, right? What I learned when I was 5 years old or 12 or even post-graduation as a first-generation student, I started my job as an accountant. I didn't know any better. I thought that was what I wanted to do, right? And continuing to learn over and over and over for decades is what gets people to evolve and thrive in life. And so learning is not just, you get one degree or you take a course, but rather it's a life journey. The other thing that these pictures remind me of that I wanted to share with everyone is that you can't accomplish what you can't envision, right? If someone would have told me when I was 18 years old, trying to figure out how to go to college, my mom basically had a $15,000 annual income. So we were not well off. And so luckily I was able to get a big scholarship to go to college, and it completely transformed my life. But I had to have had that dream to begin with, to be able to go to college, and then post-college have a dream to say, how do I get a career in higher education? And all along is being able to envision what's the next thing, what's the next thing. And so some of the things I might say today, you'll be like, oh, that's not possible. Well, it's not possible if we don't think it's possible, right? Nothing is possible if you do not think it's possible. And so I think given everything I've lived in life, that what you set your mind to is possible. And so that's what I've been working on for the last 14 years now of my life in higher education, is working for a world that has higher education and education possible for everyone. And so I'll start a little bit about what drew me to ASU, and it was this charter. And you'll see in the charter it says, we're a public research university measured not by who we exclude, by who we include and how they succeed. And so to me, this is a different way of measuring success, right? Which completely then changes your viewpoint on what an excellent university looks like. It's about how many people can you include? How many people can be included in that educational journey? And that we're not going to measure success by saying, well, we only accepted 10% of the people that apply to us. Why is that success, right? Why is that success? Why is it not everyone that we admitted graduated and is thriving in their careers and is successful? Changing the metrics of success. So this is what's driven ASU to really innovate by saying, well, what are all the ways that we're not being inclusive? And I'll show some of the trajectories over the last 20 years where ASU was not very inclusive and was not very innovative, right? But it was back to visioning what you want to see, once this charter was in place, people started to be able to envision a different way and a different way of being. So a little bit about ASU for those that don't know. ASU has 180,000 students, half online and half in person. And we also have, from the Learning Enterprise, which is what I lead, 450,000 learners, which basically means people that we're engaging in non-degree offerings. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But it's a Hispanic serving institution, about $800 million in research, so very, very prominent research university, but still trying to include as many people as possible in the educational journey, whether it's in degrees or non-degrees. Okay. So this quote really speaks to me. Just today, our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. And this is from MLK. And the challenge of change, I would say, is, I know, a very difficult one, right? I went to 6 elementary schools, and I will tell you, change is really, really hard, right? Having to start over every single year, new school, new teachers, new friends, was really hard. And yet, facing the challenge of change, is an important thing for us to at least, I remind myself of this quote every day as I think about all the changes that are happening in the world and in education. And so stay awake. Right now, and 56% of California's K-12 population is Latino, and yet our UC system still right now only has 25% of our students that are Latino. Now, luckily, 38% of our first year class is now Latino. So we're doing a lot better, right? Getting to that representative population. But what about the other ones? The other folks that are not included? How are we staying awake? How are we knowing where we're being representative of our population and where we need to do better? And again, it's important to have that data at hand so that you know how far you still have to go, right? Praise ourselves for how far we've gotten already and also where that journey needs to take us. Remain vigilant. I think zip code is not destiny, but right now, the mobility is very, very attached to income right now. And I think the UC system does an amazing job I think UC Irvine actually got the stat, remember, Provost helped me out here, but it's the #1 for economic mobility in California. Is that right? If I remember correctly, all my UC stats. So it's an amazing, and the UC system in general, right, is a huge engine of economic mobility. So is ASU, and so are probably many of your universities, which is why you're all in higher education, I'm assuming, is to be able to create that. But again, we have to remain vigilant. Where are we not being representative? Where do we still need to do the work? And navigate change. This is what I mean about change is happening very, very fast. Half of all skills could be outdated the next 2 years. I don't know how many of you have been using any AI tools. Raise your hand. Let's see. All right, some of you. That's changing work very dramatically, both for people currently in the workplace, but also how we think about education and the education that our students are getting in higher education. And then dream bigger, right? This one's the one I was talking about that's so important to me. We talk about these enrollment is down, and enrollment is down, and it's like, well, I just talked about all the students that are not enrolled, right? And so what we're saying is that we don't expect it to come back, that we don't expect to be able to serve the students that fell off the pathway. And so part of what I'll talk about ASU is how ASU has created more pathways to bring people in that maybe fell off a pathway, maybe, had to work and had to postpone their educational journey. How do we bring everyone back? Because there's so many people that need higher education and education in general, especially as I just talked about the skills being outdated, right? Which means you're going to have to keep learning. All right, so the vision of learning enterprise is one of universal access to education at all stages in life. And so I talked a little bit about the rate of innovation, but I wanted to, this graphic always to me is very telling in terms of we feel that innovation is happening faster, and yet you're not quite sure why. It's because it actually is, right? What used to take basically in a generation, 46 years, I'm 46 right now, so basically my entire lifetime to get electricity out to a quarter of the US population. That means people had a long time to figure out, well, what does this mean for us? How do we incorporate electricity into our day-to-day job, our day-to-day work, our life? Mobile phones, web, PC, that took a decade. So even then, lots of time to figure it out. One of the chat tools, ChatGPT, took less than a year to get to that same portion of the population, right? So that intensity of change is very real. And it's real in every area, not just technology, whether it's climate, how quickly climate is changing, culture, demographics, health, right? It's affecting really, this pace of innovation is really changing quite dramatically in every aspect of our lives. And so when I think about the learning enterprise, what I would like to accomplish as an institution is to really bend that curve of human adaptability, right? So change is happening quickly, and we're not adapting as quickly as a society or as individual humans. How do we bend that curve? How do we create an educational system that allows us to bend that curve of adaptability? And again, adapting, like I said, is hard. At least it was for me, right? It actually moved around so many. I realized yesterday that I haven't lived anywhere for more than 3 years, in like any one spot. And so again, adapting to change is very difficult. I know it's very difficult. And yet we have to keep going. And so in a world, what I envision is a world that's democratized, where people are constantly learning, and it's hyper-personalized and adaptable and lifelong, right? So here, our learner, Henry, who's an AI-generated learner, but Henry here is learning from early in life until the end of his life, and I'll talk about some of the learning innovations that we have to help basically create this and make this a reality. And this doesn't exist right now, right? It doesn't actually exist anywhere. But back to the very beginning where I said you can't accomplish something you can't envision, I'm putting this out there for all of us to imagine what would it be like if we could create a world where learning is happening across a lifetime and it's democratized and accessible to all. Okay. So I'm going to skip this and talk a little bit about just the extent of where we currently are. Currently, the learning enterprise at ASU has 450,000 learners in over 140 countries. And that's really enabled by a lot of the partnerships that we have, right? 2,000 partnerships with other educational, nonprofit, and corporate organizations. So I think one lesson I would say, or insight that I love everyone here to come away with, is that you can't do this alone, right? We can't do this alone. We have to do it together. And so this is for ASU partnerships and finding other people and other organizations that believe the same things that we do and figure out, well, how do we work together to get to your population, has been a way to expand quite dramatically. So one example is, for example, our Starbucks partnership. And with Starbucks, we're currently offering free degrees to their, what they call partners, with their employees. And we've graduated over 10,000 Starbucks partners. Now, would we ever have found all these Starbucks partners had we not had an official partnership with Starbucks? Absolutely not. So it's that partnering with like-minded organizations to drive the change is really important here. And then you'll notice where it says 50 million educational experiences. That to me is also, so what does that even mean? That means we're tracking as ASU who's coming to our websites, who's like clicking through our videos and watching our short YouTube videos on how to college and what a political science major is and what an electrical engineering major is. And like we have a website called Ask a Biologist, and over 20 million people go to that one alone, right? And it's for elementary school kids to talk about biology. So the reason we're tracking the educational experiences, as I call them, which are really small, short form learning, is because we know that that is actually part of the learning journey, right? And every little spark of curiosity gets you to the confidence you need to now then say, you know what, I'm ready for something bigger. I could take on a degree, or I could get my master's, because you've been sparked in your learning journey along the way. So I think both of those pieces, who's enrolled, who's taking courses, but also who's just engaging in learning, and how do we make that easier for them, is also really critical. So democratized, affordable and widespread availability. Again, are we there yet now? No, but I'll talk about a little bit about how we're on that journey. So this is ASU's enrollment over the last 20 years. As I mentioned before, ASU was, 60,000 students back in 2002, and it's really grown, as has the UC system, quite a bit to meet the demand of the learners that we have. It also used to be not very diverse. You could see back in 2002, mostly white population, and now we've been able to increase diversity without excluding anyone. So we have more of all types of students, again, across the last 20 years. And I think that piece is really important because many times I feel like people talk about higher education as a fixed pie. Well, if you let these students in, you don't let these students in. And really, we should be making spots for every student that qualifies. And so I really love the ASU mission of inclusion that's been able to increase how many students are able to come to ASU of all types, of all backgrounds. And it's not just racial or ethnicity, but it's also socioeconomic, right? So here you see, again, since 2007 this time, but the 28,000 more Pell Grant recipients, 19,000 more first-generation students, more veterans, more transfer students. And again, measuring these things is important so that we can keep along the journey of figuring out how do we become even more accessible. But I wanted to share a video of how, this is kind of the, I would say, great news and the traditional, in many ways, kind of the traditional way that universities have grown access. But one story I wanted to share is a new path that we have that's called our Earned Admissions Pathway. And so for Earned Admissions, it allows anyone to take 4 ASU courses, which we've made available to everyone. And if you take those 4 courses and you pass with a B or above, you have now shown that you can pass a college course with a B or above, and we will create a spot for you, and you have earned your admission. So you will be admitted into the university. And so what I wanted to share, and I think this video is already here, is the story of Alexander.
My name's Alexander. I come from Southern California. ASU's Universal Learner Program offered an opportunity for me to fulfill my dream of going to college. As a formerly incarcerated person, I found it very difficult to find an opportunity to open the door to another life. ASU gave me that opportunity, and not only gave me that opportunity, but allowed me to learn how to be a student. One thing I found difficult when starting at ASU was using the computer. Having been incarcerated for a majority of my life, I was unfamiliar with technology, but the Universal Learner Program was so interactive and so easy for me to understand what I needed to learn. And the courses, they weren't trying to trick you. They were genuinely trying to learn, and they never asked you anything that they didn't teach you how to do first. That pathway has led me now to work on my bachelor's degree, and eventually I want to get my dream of earning a JD and a PhD so that I can become a lawyer and save the kids that no one ever saved. I earned my high school diploma while I was incarcerated. And while incarcerated, I really discovered a passion for learning. And it all started the second I picked up a book. And I read history like a priest reads the Bible, but nothing moved me like philosophy. And so when I had the opportunity to go to college, it was the best thing I could think of to prepare me for a pre-law course. A college degree, it means self-determination. It means being able to make your own path and make your environment the product of you instead of you being the product of your environment. And not only that, an education empowers you to help other people. That's primarily why I'm going to college at all, because it's kind of difficult to go through all of this process, and I'm not just simply doing it for me, because don't get me wrong, I want to have a better life, but I want to help other people. When I was a kid and I was in high school, my best friend was beaten to death with a crowbar and he died in my arms. At a young age, I didn't have the emotional maturity to handle something so serious, and it derailed my life. I got involved in a lot of bad stuff, and it eventually led me to prison. And while incarcerated and maturing and growing up, I started to take a better stock of who I was and who was around me. And I realized that a lot of the people that are incarcerated are the kids that no one ever saved. They grew up in tragedy, they grew up with trauma, horrific circumstances. I just wanted to do something about it, and that's why one of the reasons why I'm pursuing my education and want to become a lawyer, because I want to find those kids that no one ever helped and advocate for them and give agency to those without a voice and help the disenfranchised. For me, when I first came across the Universal Learner Program, I jumped at the opportunity because I know how hard opportunities are to come by. It's very rare for someone to even be giving a chance at success or a chance at a future, let alone a second chance. And ASU offers a chance to people who have never had one. As soon as I took that Universal Learner course, I knew this was the path I could take to get an education. When taking courses for the first time in the Universal Learner Program, I felt very supported. Like the English 101 course, for example. It offered a clear pathway of what was expected, what I had to do, what the goals were, and I was never faced with anything that I couldn't handle. Coming out of prison, I was unused to using technology. None of these things existed, none of the smartphones or these apps. It was just a learning process, but just like anything new, it's a little awkward at first, and you get what you put into it. It can be done, because I did it. And so far, I mean, I finished the Universal Learner Program with a 4.0. Every course I've taken, I've been able to get an A, and it's just all a matter of what you put into it, because at ASU, nothing is asked of you they don't teach you how to do first. I kind of just chunk it out. I just focus on a fall semester A and then fall semester B, and then just one step at a time, and I focus on doing the step that I'm on and doing the best that I can. That's it. That's all you have to do. One of the courses that I just jumped at an opportunity to learn about is a Neuroscience 101. It was just amazing, just absolutely amazing, and by far the most difficult course I've ever taken in my entire life, but I've never felt so satisfied from a program, and just so much to learn and so much to understand. It's amazing. For people who think that college isn't for them, I would say that college is what you make it and how you choose to pursue it. There are so many different programs, there's so many different pathways. You can find what works for you that will lead you to where you want to be, and it's doable. It does require work, but it's nothing that's beyond your ability. This was my ASU story. Thanks for watching.
So Alexander actually drove like 3 hours to come from Nevada to do this video because he felt that strongly about sharing his story with others. And this is what I meant about learning as a journey, right? And that we need more pathways to make sure people have opportunities to get that second chance, to get that second opportunity, because everyone wants that second chance. Everyone wants to learn. And we have to figure out how do we as universities enable that learning, enable that those second chances, enable different pathways for different types of learners with different life experiences. Study hall, sorry, I always get kind of emotional with Alexander's story every time I watch it. But Study Hall is a program we have with YouTube and Complexly. This is Hank Green. He's a YouTuber. And we worked with him and YouTube to actually create a series of 300 videos that live on YouTube and people can find that basically do three things. One, they're how to college. So they're 5-minute videos that answer questions for students like what's a FAFSA, what's a college application, et cetera. We wanted to meet students where they are. They don't want to necessarily read a bunch of forms. They want to quickly jump on YouTube. YouTube has, I think, 2 billion learners that are coming to them annually. So we wanted to go where our learners were. The second set of videos are the ones I talked about briefly earlier, which were about the different majors. You know, as a first generation college graduate myself, why I ended up as an accounting major is because I didn't know what my options were. I actually love science. In hindsight, I probably would have been an astrophysicist. That would have been the coolest thing. But why didn't I? Because I didn't know what these different majors were, what kind of careers they would enable. And so through our study hall channel, you can watch videos that describe hundreds of different majors and what kind of careers you can have with them. Again, quick and easy for students to access. And most importantly, that teachers around the country can actually point their students to, right? And then they can have that second, more meaningful conversation, but they don't have to have the same basic conversation over and over again. This allows them to be able to say, why don't you watch these videos and come back to me and we'll talk about what your potential options were. And then the third thing that Study Hall does is that we actually, those universal learner courses that we have, we basically created a version of them that start on YouTube. So you can start English 101. You can start History 101 on YouTube, see if you like it, see if you think it's interesting, and then enroll in the ASU course. And so again, creating another flexible pathway to a college course, to an opportunity. Learning Sparks is another example of short form content. This, if you go to Learning Sparks, asu.edu, has, I think about, I want to say 100 of our faculty so far in 5-minute videos talking about their area of expertise. And so this one's very important to us because we, again, are trying to get people exposed to stuff that they've never been exposed to, right? So I really encourage everyone to check out these videos. They're on everything from quantum technology to semi-electronics, AI, biology, chemistry, to give people a sense, again, of what's possible in these areas. And so we find that many of our students are inspired and, we spark their curiosity through this. And so again, small program, but these all come together, right? These are all different components of an educational journey and experience. Okay, so those were our kind of highly democratized learning opportunities. And now I want to talk a little bit about the hyper-personalized and adaptable. In ASU, we really believe in a really high-touch but tech-enabled education. And I think this is important, the high-touch and tech-enabled, because I hear many people, and probably not in a technology conference, but talk about, well, but what about the human touch? What about people learning together? No one is taking that away. Right? But what we're saying is that technology can actually improve aspects of an educational experience. And so the job at hand is to figure out what portions are actually best done through a technology-enabled curriculum and what is best done in person and what's best, Alexander, he lives in Nevada. There was no way he would be able to come to ASU physically. So for him, all of it had to be online. And that was what he needed, right? So also ensuring, are we meeting the needs of everyone? So here I have an example of our BioSpine. Our BioSpine is basically an integrated curriculum across biology that's adaptive. And so what that means is if you're taking, let's say, biology, we'll look at, biology 370, that we'll know if you took other biology courses and you're missing concepts or forgotten a concept from another course, and we're able to bring it in to whatever biology class you're taking. And so in many ways, we find actually that students do, and actually we'll host this course for our in-person students as well. So they'll be in the online course because we find what's easier for us to track what they're learning, where the gaps are, to have the course basically tutor them on the concepts that they're missing. And so in this case, we think that this is actually the best pedagogical approach for teaching our biology courses at ASU, whether you're an online student or an in-person student. And then for our Universal Learner course, we're able to take a couple of these and make them available to everyone and anyone so they can figure out, is biology for them? Is this something that they would want to engage in? So I think another maybe insight is, how do you take an asset and distribute it to many different types of learners, in whether it's a different degree program, different modalities, different statuses, whether you're a student or you're still someone on a pathway to a degree. And then we have this Dreamscape Learn, which is actually a fully immersive VR experience that does something called, what is it? I forgot the name of the course for some reason this morning. Alien Zoo. Sorry. Alien Zoo is our course. And it's the reason it's an alien zoo is we wanted to have everyone start in an equal footing, right? Nobody knows what these alien animals are like. And so everyone's starting in an equal footing as they're exploring, some of them are sick and you have to research them and, take blood and figure out what's wrong with them. And so it's a great way to equalize the starting place of every biology student, so they're not intimidated by this person's super advanced because they've had all this exposure in the earlier in life, and this student's coming in at it fresh. Here, all of them are coming at it fresh, and because it's so interactive, we've seen over 20% increases in retention through this VR experience. And we have the fully immersion version, and then we also have just the one with the headsets where you could do it on your computer. But we've made it available to basically all our biology students, so over 20,000 students have taken this. The Trusted Learner Network is not as exciting as Alien Zoo, but it is some core. It is a core infrastructure that I wanted to highlight in terms of that when I talk about hyper personalized and adaptable. One of the keys to that is being able to keep the learner information across their lifetime. So this is kind of a project that we have that is not as sexy, but is really that back end of ensuring we have this learner's credentials from any educational institution that they went to, right? And so we're able to keep track of those for them over their lifetime, and it's theirs after they graduate as well. And so we think this will be important as we push forward in this lifelong journey, that you'll be able to keep your credentials in one location. In terms of the just amount of technology-driven on degrees, at this point we have 350 online degrees now. And I wanted to show how the programs actually grew over time, right? Because sometimes you're like, well, we don't have that many, but we didn't have that many just 10 years ago. And so each year we have a group that's called Ed Plus, and that group works with our faculty. All our degrees are basically worked with our schools and colleges and faculty. And so each year they take on several number and work with them to develop what the type of curriculum is that they want to put this so that it's a really high quality degree. But I wanted to again show it's a journey. Not everything happens all at once, right? It's been 10 years and now we have over 350. Then I wanted to talk about when I talk about the high touch and the online, there's nothing that symbolizes more than ASU Local. And ASU Local is a program I started 4 years ago. And so what it does is that it embeds our younger students, so students that still really want and need that kind of really holistic support, that coach to help them succeed. We have basically mini satellite campuses. And right now they're in Long Beach, LA, Lake Havasu, Yuma, Chula Vista, and Washington, D.C. And basically these students come together mostly now at local community colleges in groups of 35 once a week to work on what I call kind of adulting skills, right? On all the skills that you need to be successful. Most of our students that are in this program are first generation students. And so we know, at least from my personal experience and from the experiences that I hear of our students, it's not just the educational experience. They're looking for, well, I don't even know what a resume is or what networking means or why is LinkedIn important. And so they go through a curriculum that's all about professional development at the same time in parallel with their online program. And then what's also amazing about this program is that because we have one coach for every 35 students, the coach is also helping them navigate all the academic areas. And as we know, making sure that they know where the tutoring takes place, if they're having issues with their financial aid or anything else. And it really serves as that person that's there for them, that makes the whole experience, feel like there's someone that cares about you and is making sure you're successful. And I think that's so important. And sometimes we don't talk about that as much in higher education, that it's really about the people that help you through. And so in this program, we have a very intensive, high-touch, in-person program alongside the online piece. And so I think I also have a video about our Yuma experience. Oh, this one worked.
ASU Local Yuma is a hybrid program where our students take online classes and they attend in-person programming once a week. Through this program, we aim to redesign the college student experience. We have an amazing coach who guides them every single day through getting a college feel while they're taking online classes.
In my role, I oversee a caseload of 35 students who are from Latinx backgrounds. And so my role is to support them through one-on-one coaching sessions. Our students are expected to meet with me 4 to 6 times per semester.
Through our program, students receive academic support. They also receive support with guidance on their career, academics, navigating the online tutoring systems, navigating ASU resources.
We focus on 2 hours of upskilling workshops for our students. We support them with tailoring resumes, building their elevator pitch, connecting with a network here in the Yuma community. Really focus on professional development to build their skills to complement what they're learning in their classes.
I'm majoring in economics, forensic sciences, management,
graphic information technology,
mass communication and media studies, biomedical sciences, business administration.
Students that we serve here are deeply rooted in their communities. And so being a first gen here, it's a family type of journey for our students locally.
My parents always pushed me to pursue a career where I'm a first generation to ASU Local that has that support system just with the online format.
Ever since I got here at ASU, I actually feel like I'm I'm living the college experience now without having to go all the way to the Tempe campus. Especially for Latino women as me, try to pursue a degree in STEM. I'm really glad to be here at ASU. The program that they offer is just had everything that I wanted to be in.
ASU Local really does that job of let's support you through holistic success while bringing it to your community. And it's also a way not just to support students, but just the community as a whole by preparing professionals here.
So you saw that example of combining our online courses and degrees with a very high touch. And you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have that technology infrastructure in place already, right? And you noticed how many degrees the students were in? I think we have 80 students now in Yuma, and they're in probably 35 degree programs. And so there's no, normally satellite campuses, people think, oh, we can put one program there. Maybe it's education. Maybe I think we had forensic science before ASU Local. And through the ASU local program, we were able to bring every degree to them, right? And so you could see there was no way to do that without that technology backbone. And then one of the other kind of fun things we have here is recreating the campus in a metaverse experience. So if our sometimes we'll do activities with our UMA students or our DC students with our immersive metaverse campus. So we have everything, I think the other thing is we test a lot of stuff at ASU. It's kind of back to the number one in innovation. One of the reasons for that is just we're testing a lot of things to see what works. And so we have everything from a very holistic program like ASU Local to a campus metaverse, right? And we're seeing like what's working, continuously working on what are all the different ways that people are using this technology and could be helpful to their educational journey. We have the virtual labs. I know lots of schools have those as well, but I think this is especially important for some of our online students that are not in Arizona, that can be doing their here in engineering. This is our microelectronics clean room, and we have a digital lab for that. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then finally, I talked about learning being democratized, being hyper-personalized and adaptable. And then the third really pillar here is lifelong. And so here's Henry again. And again, it was really an acknowledgement that not every educational journey is linear, right? We heard from Alexander that he had to really come back to his journey after a really long time. And so at whatever age, how do we, once you're engaged with someone, keep them engaged in learning and helping them thrive? And so we have 5 different areas that my team focuses on. First is K-12, and we actually have like 5 physical charter schools in the Phoenix area. And we also have what is called Prep Digital, so a digital version of high school where we have over 10,000 learners enrolled. And so sometimes they'll be fully registered as like full-time students in the digital program. A lot of those folks are maybe homeschooled people or people that are like athletes that are traveling a lot and need kind of an option that's more flexible. And many times we actually just provide a course for a school or that doesn't have access to that course, right? And so we'll say, well, these schools don't have all the courses that you need for the students to be eligible for your university. Well, how can you give them that course? And say, well, here it is. And through this program, we're able to ensure that every school, mostly in Arizona for now, has the courses that the students need to be able to be eligible for admissions. And the Universal Pathway Program is what I talked about earlier in the program that Alex talked about. This one is in case you didn't have the courses to be eligible and you weren't admissible, we yet have another way for you to be admissible into the university. And then the other ones are career and professional learning, so an acknowledgement that we have a program called ASU for Life. And so as soon as you graduate, you're part of ASU for Life, and you start to get mentoring and courses that you need to keep, growing in your professional career. And at the beginning, we found that most of the students just want help getting a job, right? So it's like students are coming to us saying, help us get a job. And so we've been, a lot of the focus has been there, but also through the Professional Skills for Everyone curriculum. Sometimes our students graduate and they've maybe been so focused on their engineering major that they didn't have time to take the types of courses that they need for maybe a management job in a business. And so these courses continue to be available for them after they graduate so that they can keep learning. And the personal, cultural, and civic learning is really critical because we're human beings and not just workers, right? And so how do we make sure that we're holistically supporting the learners in all other aspects of life? And then finally, the global learning. So there's a couple examples. I already talked about our Prep Digital. Accelerate is the same universal learner. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, when I say using assets and then using them in different ways, this is what I mean. So in Accelerate, we created a program where we can give high schools the the college courses, and it's those same college courses that Alex talked about, those universal learner courses. And so they're able to take their college courses in high school through this program. And then these actually allow for stackable credentials. So that's another thing that we created through those big open courses, is that not only are they courses, but we actually created kind of stacks of them so that you could get a credential and also your academic credit. So one of the things that most bothers me when I hear people is like, are you college track or not college track? Are you in the, CTE or are you college? And I don't think we have to be that black and white. In these stackables, a student could be taking the Google IT certificate, for example, and we've embedded it into some of our own courses so that they can also get academic credit. And so once they're done with the Google IT certificate, they both have that as a certificate, but they also have 6 months of academic credit that they can say, I'm ready to apply and enroll at ASU whenever they're ready, and then create that. Again, it's a journey, right? It's not just about that one-off certificate. So this one's, I think, really important, and we have it in data analytics and project management, and we're probably going to create some in health soon. These are kind of similar to our extension ones, so we'll skip, but it's basically just courses that you can take online on a whole variety of areas, but I'll skip because I know I want to make sure we have time for questions. Again, personal development has been an important one for me, and we have everything from stress management to wellness and different life skills, like how to parent. Parenting is hard. And so helping new parents, basically, like what are all the things they need to learn, we're able to provide that as well. And then this one's, I think, a super fun one, where we have basically that building behind those people is right on campus, and it's called Mirabella, and basically people get to live there if they're 65 and over. So I was not allowed to live there, even though I really wanted to live there because I thought it was so cool. But you're on campus, you're taking courses, but most folks are 65 and retired and are actually looking to either keep learning, they serve as mentors, they participate in a whole variety of campus experiences. So when we say lifelong, I really mean lifelong. And then, how much time do I have? I just want to make sure I can, 5 more minutes. Okay, great. I wanted to touch just briefly on AI, because I do think it's something that's accelerating quite quickly. And I don't know if you noticed here, we had some AI courses already. And I think it's important that we develop them for our students, but also for our general population. And so we have a partnership at ASU with OpenAI, and it's really on everything from research to our degree-seeking students to also like our general population courses. So we have a lot of projects underway, and the way we do these at ASU is really pull a call out for anyone on campus that wants to participate in these. And so you see we have 49 on innovations in teaching and learning, some on research regarding societal impacts. And so if you're a staff or a faculty or even a student, you're able to plug in really wherever you want in working on these things. And so here's examples of some AI projects. And so I'll kind of come back to my quote about our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, adjust to new ideas, remain vigilant, and face the challenges of change. And it remains ever so true today than it did when it was said. And so I just wanted to highlight, in my other hat as a regent of the University of California, we just put up a task force on institutional growth, which is basically a UC 2050 plan, and also calling for accessible learning for all. And it calls for reimagining how and where UC happens, to expand to every corner of California, to reflect the full diversity of California at every level, to achieve equitable student success for all, and to advance UC's academic and research excellence, and finally to apply UC research and thought leadership to California's biggest challenges. So just wanted to also highlight, I think UC is doing so much also to push forward this goal of accessible, democratized education for all. And so I'll leave you with put learners at the center of design, and you will find that there is a whole variety of things that you can create to serve every type of learner. So with that, just thank you so much for your time.